Hello, today I am going to go over how to create a transaction in ZipForms, how to add the forms or a template, how to edit those documents when you can't edit them, and finally setting them up for e-signatures to send them to your clients. So we're going to get started right away, and you'll see on not the main navigation, but the navigation below that, you have new here. Whenever you sign into ZipForms, it'll automatically be on transactions. So you can just go to start a new one here. And I'm going to do a listing. And you can call your listings I recommend either by your client's name or the property address like it says there, but whichever one you're going to remember. When you're talking to Mary about your properties, she's going to remember them based on the address. But more than likely, if it were me, I would remember based on my client's name. So I am going to call it by name. And then this is residential. So I have already set up a template that automatically applies whenever I click on residential and listing to do my seller template. And that's going to have all the documents, and how to create those is in a separate video. If you did not automatically apply that, you will find all your templates here. So you could click on it here, or you can add each of the forms later, and I will show you how to do that in just a minute. So we're going to click Save, and it's going to open up our transaction. So this is your sort of summary or dashboard. Most of what you're going to do in here is actually in the Documents area. So we're going to go to Documents. If you didn't have a template, this is going to be completely blank. If you did have a template, it's going to load with everything from your template. So for this transaction, I don't have propane, so I'm going to delete this one. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete it. Let's say it's in an HOA, but it isn't in a flood zone, so I'm going to delete the flood zone. So from here, you're really going to customize things, and there's no intermediary relationship, so I'm going to delete that one too. But I have my IABS in here. Yours is probably going to be a PDF like this, because it's going to be the one that has your information that I sent to you. But remember, whenever you add a PDF, you can't edit it. So each of these things you click in to edit. So you're going to add your client's name, and then it's going to auto-populate on each of these lines. So I set my client as Curtis Retta Hayes, and when I put his name there, now it's auto-populating in all the spots that legally it needs to be. You can do the printed name here. And then save. And you'll see here, you can also e-sign from here. I do not recommend e-signing from here unless you just need a single document. When you click on that, it's going to set up an e-signature for only the document that you're in, instead of being able to send all the documents to your clients to sign at one time. So in order to make things a little easier on them, I recommend editing each of these with everything you need, saving each one, and once you have all of them edited, you're ready to set up for an e-sign. Now, let's say you didn't have a template. So when you came in here, all of this wasn't here. You can go to all forms when you're in Documents, and you can search within the form libraries. There are several of them on here. Curtis says the only one that you are going to need to use is the TXR. So while you're within here, you can see these are all the things that I have already applied, but you can search for each of the documents that you need to add. Just remember that this search is not, it's not very intuitive. So it doesn't pick out keywords from inside the document. And if you do not type it exactly correct, it will not pick up what you're asking it for. So less is more. So, for instance, if it's buyer, there's an S on the end, you do this, that document isn't going to show up for you because they didn't have that. So just buyer is going to show you everything with buyer in it. So less is more. You just click on something to add it and you'll see it'll pop up over here. Oh, sorry. We're going to delete that because we don't need it. So once we have everything in here and it's all filled out, we are good to go. When you are adding PDFs, instead of going to the library, you'll go to add a doc and you can add them from your computer, from anywhere. If you have them just on your desktop, you can also drag and drop. It's really easy. But only PDFs can be added here. So they need to be edited before you put them here. If you do not have a PDF creator on your computer, Google Docs will let you save anything as a PDF so that you can put it in here. Once everything's in here, it's all edited, it's set up and ready to go for signatures. When you're in this screen, the document screen, you're going to go to esign on this navigation bar on the far left. And we're going to do a new esign packet. So you can pick and choose what goes in here, but for this purpose, we want everything to get signed at once, so our clients only have to do it one time, hopefully. And all of the documents are going to be there. You're going to rename your packet. So I'm going to name it contract. And you're just going to want to name it something that your clients will recognize. Also helps when you spell things correctly. Okay, and then you're going to click Next. Here's where you add signers. So a couple of things. When you add someone to one of these things are going to auto-populate based on what the form says. For every thing that you add here, it's a different signer, so it sends a different email for those signatures. So you don't want to add your client as every single one of these. You're going to want to pick one and you can apply their signature to every space they need it when you get to that part. So let's say I'm the agent. And it's seller 1 is actually client, Curtis Redahays. Okay. And then I hit close, right? Oh, no signers. So you also have to check in the checkbox exactly, what you want things to be. If you need to sign, you would click for yourself. So from here, you have your signers, you double check the email addresses are right, and you can also choose what order things get sent in. They can get sent to everybody at the same time. One person can get them first, whatever you need for your particular transaction. So from here, we're going to start assigning signatures. I will tell you that past this point, if you realize you need to change a document or you need to add it, it becomes difficult for ZipForms to allow that. You can technically do it, but a lot of times it'll glitch out your packet. So if you move past this point and you've assigned signatures and you need to change something that we have already done, you should start a new packet just so that you don't have to deal with going back and forth with your client if something glitches out and it won't accept their signature, because that is really the only time that I've had major issues with anything in ZipForms. So we're going to click next so that we can go to, I always click no thanks here if you want the extra protection. Obviously, you can do that. But we're going to go to next and we are going to assign our signatures. So it's taking a while, presumably because there are so many forms. But when the page finally builds, it's going to have all the forms we selected and multiple ways to add signatures to them. There's signatures, there's initials, there's text boxes. You can see all of that over here on the left-hand side now. This first drop-down is how you'll toggle between people. And this drop-down is all the forms. You can select forms this way, but you do not have to. As you're scrolling through, the next form will auto-populate. So when you scroll down, and we're going to find the first place that we need to sign. Here it is. So you can see I was the agent and he was the first buyer. So it has auto-populated where we should sign here. But here it hasn't, right? So here we need my initials and his initials. And let's say we need him to fill in this text here because we didn't know it at the time. So the only way you can do a text box is attached to either initial or a signature. The text box will have to be filled in the order that you put them in. So I do not recommend putting them backwards up the page because then your client will be asked to fill things in from the bottom up instead of the top down. So I always go to the top and fill in my text boxes from the top down. When you select a text box, it's automatically going to be marked to mandatory. You can change these. However, what I like to do is tell people that if it doesn't apply to them, to put NA. That way I am for sure that they had to look at each and every spot and nothing gets missed as they're going through and doing their signatures or filling in their information. I also prefer to do text boxes for the initials or signatures that come next. So the reason being is this initial will not be accepted until all the text boxes are filled in. So if they get to right here and they click to do the initial, it's not going to let them if there's a text box on this page that coincides with this initial. So I would move on to the next initial and then do a text box on and do all the text boxes on this page. Or check boxes, they all have to be assigned to one. Now, Curtis prefers to go through all the documents on one signer and then go all of the documents again on another signer. I prefer to toggle back and forth between the signers. It's whatever keeps you organized and the best way for you to do it. Once you've gone through all of them and set everything up, you're going to click Save and click OK. And then you're going to send this document. Oh, I have to put one on each thing at least. So in order to just show you what we've got, there's one on here, I believe. Okay, and there's one on this one. Obviously, this is not how you would do it, but just for the sake of moving on, we're going to set one to each. That way you can see what to do moving forward. Okay. So now we should be able to click send. Everything has at least one, and this is how it's going to pop up. So here it's going to be titled what you titled the packet, and it's going to have filled in this auto message for you. You write in whatever message. We sign the blah, 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 and then you click send. Until you click send and this email is successfully sent, this package is not started. So if you go back, you won't have, it won't say that it started and your clients will not have gotten it. So when you click send here, it's going to have sent to me and Curtis. It's going to pop up and tell you that it was successfully started, and it's going to look completely different when it loads. So now from here, you can see all the documents and things like that, modify, cancel, and close. So I'm going to close this to show you how to go back into it. So when you're in your transactions, if you need to check on it and see if they've opened it, you cannot see if they've opened the email, but you can see if they clicked on the link. So you would go to Documents and to eSign again, and you'll see your packets here, all of them. This one's in progress because we started it, so we'll click on it. And see here it says pending. So if they had clicked on the link and they had not completed the paperwork, this would change, I believe, to verified. And then when it's completed, it'll say completed. You can, from here, go into the packet and you can view the documents, you can download them, or email the signers. When you go to email the signers, it'll ask you if you want to include the link. Usually you would, because typically when you're emailing a signer, it's to remind them to sign. From here, you can also go to modify, cancel, and close. If you are going to modify things, that's where things get a little tricky. And the modification feature does not always work correctly. So I would say just be careful doing that and try to take your time so that when you send it the first time, they get everything that they need. If for some reason this is no longer a deal, or there's a mistake in it, or it isn't working properly, that's when you could cancel. And the packet will now just show up as canceled here, and you can create a new one or do whatever else you need to do. If you have any questions, I know that's a lot of information, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is crystal, CRYSTAL, @skyrealty.com. Have a great day.